It's said in the Gospel of the Pharisees to whom this parable was addressed that we heard tonight, that they were fond of money. Jesus called them blind guides. They were so fond of material things that they became blind to the needs of people around them. And worse than that, spiritually, they became deaf to the Word of God. The gospel is not condemning wealth as such, but it's condemning its abuse. People who are wealthy have an even greater obligation to help those in need. If our material things that we have so consume us so that we're not aware, and that was the problem with Dives and Lazarus in the gospel, the rich man, that he was so taken up with his sumptuous eating and drinking every day and the material goods he had that he was just blind to Lazarus sitting out at the gate starving. When I read this parable, I remember as a young priest, I was doing a retreat at Camp Christopher with kids from our school, and I had them acting out the parables as skits so we'd learn from them. And one of them was this parable. And we were in the dining hall, and one of the kids who was playing the part of Lazarus was lying on the floor, and he made himself look all sick and tired and everything. And there was the rich man over at one of the tables eating all this great food. And then plunging right through the door of the dining hall was this black Labrador retriever who came over and was just licking Lazarus all over the place on the floor. And I thought, God sent me a little prop for the parable tonight. And the kids never forgot that. They said, "Where'd that dog come from?" I said, "Well, God sent it so you'd get the message." We can so easily, yesterday when it was pouring rain, I stopped at the corner of right by the airport on Grafton, getting off 480 at Grafton Road, and there was a young man with a orange raincoat on with a sign saying, "Please help, I'm hungry and homeless." And I felt so bad for him. And I stopped. Fortunately, the light had just turned red, so I stopped and asked him his name and told him I felt bad for him, and I gave him some money, and he was just so grateful. And I was driving away and thinking, I hope some other people stop. Too many people will drive by and say, well, he should be going into welfare, or he should be going to other agencies that can help him, or he should be doing this or getting a job or all that. Well, right now, at this moment, whatever his problems are, he's standing in the rain, freezing and hungry. And Jesus would say, feed him, feed him. And I think, every day we have opportunities where we can reach out somehow to the needs of others. And that's what the gospel is telling us about. Even poverty is not such a blessing. Jesus in the gospel tells us that we should help alleviate poverty. But he's reminding that even the poor cannot be in the right disposition either. They can be so taken up with not knowing where their next meal's coming from. How can they pray and be grateful to God? And so they need something too. And where does that leave us? We're probably not wealthy, and we're probably not destitute and poor. We're in the middle somewhere. And even there in that place, we have to say, am I satisfied with moderation? Am I satisfied with the things I do have? And if I lost everything today, where would I be spiritually? It's good to think of that sometimes. And the Lord just wants us to make sure that in our hearts, and he says it in the responsorial psalm that I think it's there, that he looks into our hearts. Who can know the human heart? Only God. And so if there's love in our heart for God and love for our neighbor, we're doing what Jesus wants us to do. So today we thank the Lord for his parable, and we ask him to help us to have our eyes open and our hearts open to meet the needs of others when we encounter it. Let us stand and offer our prayers and petitions.